Okay, take two. I'm inviting Crystal Zen Yoga to join me for this. We are going to be talking about breathing this morning. Here she is. It worked. Good
Thank you.
morning, my beautiful friend. So I'm so thrilled to share my friend Crystal Zinn with all of you. If you don't know her, we have been longtime friends and creating things together for many moons, yoga festivals, collaborating with teacher training, and just like being moms and living life as well. And so I'm so excited to go live with you today, Crystal, because for me, anatomy is kind of like, ugh, like the not fun part of yoga. But when you talk about anatomy, you get me fired up about it. And it's like described in a way that I can understand and my creative brain can process. And so I'm just so thrilled to be here in the early morning hours to have you tell us about the anatomy of breathing. So I'm just going to and let you start talking.
Okay. Thank you. I know. And it's anatomy. Oh, and it's 6:30 in the morning. So
Yeah.
I hope everyone has their mushroom coffee.
Some trouble with the connection. Please try again.
Someone is talking.
Oh.
Electronics are really awesome at 6:30 in the morning too.
That's
So basically, I'm wondering how many people have seen what that looks like in your body and how you actually breathe anatomically first. So some things that we go over right at the beginning of Alyssa's yoga teacher trainings, which are awesome, plug for that, by the way, is what it actually looks like inside your body. And so after this in the comments, I'm going to put a bunch of resources for people and some cool pictures, if that's okay.
Thank
So
you
that
so much.
Yeah, so that you can actually see that. So your main muscle for breathing is your diaphragm. And how we describe it is most like a jellyfish. So if you've not seen this before or you have another thing you're watching on, you can look this up online. It kind of looks like if your hand was here and this is your diaphragm and there's a string that goes down and the fascia connects to your pelvic floor. So I think the most important thing to understand is when you inhale, this diaphragm is here just beneath your ribs and it's going to contract down like this. So it makes room for your lungs in here to expand. I'm trying to see which part of me is on the video. To expand like this, right? And in 360 directions. So when you're breathing, a lot of times we think things are moving in a different direction. But if in your mind, you can picture your diaphragm like this on an inhale, making room, and then it relaxes and comes back up on the exhale, and your lungs contract here. It's the best visualization to understand that just on top of your diaphragm is your beautiful, amazing heart right here. And your lungs on either side. And just below your diaphragm is your intestines, like your stomach, right? Your digestive stuff. And so think about that. If every time you take a breath, this is happening in that mid space of your body, then what's kind of happening to those really important organs? And I love asking students that and kind of watching their minds think. Everything's getting massaged. With every breath, everything is getting like this little visceral massage and this like mobility and dynamic movement going on, right?
Yeah.
So the first benefit of breathing and paying attention to your breathing is visceral massage and stimulation. Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. There were 3 things I wrote down that I wanted to make sure and talk about because I feel like knowledge is power, right? And so we're always told to do these things and breathe, and how many breathing exercises have we been given and taught? But if you really understand what's happening behind that, then I think you really kind of get converted.
Yeah.
And then you right, and then you do the things, and then you believe in the practices, and then you're like, oh my gosh. So since it's 6:30 in the morning and people might be tired, I was wondering if Alyssa, you could take us through like 3 rounds of the box breath,
Yeah.
and then I could talk to you. Yeah, would you be willing to?
Yes. Do you want me to do it with the holds or just inhales and exhales?
With the holds, and
Okay.
then talk about why you felt what you felt when we do that. And
Okay.
while we do it, picture the diaphragm. So what, like 30 seconds? Breathe with us for 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
So first, if you've never done this before, we're going to imagine a square, a box, okay? And as we go across the top of that box, inhale. When you get to that corner, you hold till you go down to the bottom corner, and then exhale across the bottom of that box. And then you'll hold at the bottom of the inhale, and then we start the cycle again. So I like to close my eyes when I breathe, but you can keep them open, whatever feels good. But just most important, wherever you are, sit with a long spine. Exhale out all your breath to begin. Visualize a square or a box in your mind's eye. And now begin to inhale from the left-hand corner of that box to the right-hand corner for 4. Hold your breath for 2, 3, 4. Now exhale across the bottom of that box for 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath out as you go up to that starting point for 3, 4. Now we start again. Inhale across the top of the box for 3, 4. Hold your breath going down to that corner. 3, 4. Now let's exhale across the bottom of that square for 3, 4. Hold your breath out. Going back to our starting place. 3, 4. Let's just do one more cycle. Inhale across the top. 3, 4. Hold your breath as you go down the side of the box. 3, 4. Exhale out all that air across the bottom of the square for 3, 4. And now hold your breath out as you go back up the side of the square. 3, 4. And now relax your efforts. Blink open your eyes. And Crystal, tell us what just happened.
I love that because if you watch this live later, you'll have that breathing tool. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So probably we feel a little more calm, right? So two different things happen, one on your nervous system and one on your cardiovascular system. So what we have is a vagus nerve, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, which directly relates to your parasympathetic nervous system. So as it winds down your body, it has a little peripheral branch right across your diaphragm right here we talked about. When you begin to intentionally press through your breath, squeeze on those holds, right? You start to kind of like a blood pressure cuff, squeeze on that vagus nerve and stimulate it, and then gently release. And then squeeze like a gentle massage. So because the vagus nerve is efferent signals from your body to your brain, it's going to signal your brain that it's time to go into rest and restore. And it will sustain kind of life sustaining processes like digestion, restfulness, a lot of processes in your brain that store things away. So when you're working like that, your sympathetic nervous system will not come into play. We all know about that fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, right? So
Yeah.
basically, the long breathing and holds is the opposite of that. And that's why you suddenly feel calm. Your nervous system comes in a little bit, begins to regulate, and then you can sustain some of those processes for healing. So that's your nervous system. It feels really lovely. The second thing that happens is kind of really cool. I'm wondering if any of these people who are joining have ever raced endurance horses. So you can put below if you have. Or actually, if you're like a triathlete or something, it's kind of the same deal. But what happens when you race endurance horses is you have like these pit stops. You have to do it in segments, right? The 50 miles or 100 miles in segments. And then you have to cool your horse down, and the vet actually has to listen to the horse's heart rate. and they won't let you do the next segment until the heart rate has come down into a specific area, meaning that the horse is healthy enough to travel on. So
Yeah.
think about, it's called heart rate variability. And you're toning your heart rate variability with your breathing. And it's like this. When you inhale, your heart rate goes up a little bit because your diaphragm is coming down, releasing the pressure on your heart, and your heart has to speed up a little bit, right? To get that got new space, more volume to push the blood through your body, right? Now, as you exhale, it comes up and the space in your heart gets condensed a little bit. So then your heart rate slows down because you've got a lot of pressure in the heart, right? So it's going to take a lot less, like if you've got a water balloon that's full of water, it's going to take, you barely touch it, right? And it starts squeezing out. So with every breath you take, your heart rate is speeding up and slowing down, and speeding up and slowing down. So it's different than heart rate. Typically a low heart rate, especially when you first wake up, indicates cardiovascular health. But heart rate variability is how the beats vary in your breathing and in the timing of your heartbeat. So I'll link a really cool article from a neurodivergent series below where they marry this with ADHD and some other cool studies they're doing. But your ability to speed up and slow down your heart rate is called your heart rate variability. And the higher that is, the better your cardiovascular health is. So like these horses in endurance racing, right? They're able to have their heart rate really high, complete a segment, but the timing it takes for them to drop back down into a certain zone is how they indicate how healthy they are to move on or how well they're doing in the race, right? So if it takes a long time to go from high heart rate to low heart rate, then that's poor heart rate variability rate, right? Like that's poor cardiovascular health. Is this making sense?
Yes, this makes a lot of sense.
Right, so if you get stimulated or you're running or your heart rate's really high and it just takes you hours to recover from that, that's poor cardiovascular health, right?
Yeah, a lot of sense.
And if you're resting, you're in a restful state and you need to get up and go and something happens, like you need your sympathetic nervous system, you need to be able to pump that heart rate up real quick. That's called your cardiovascular health. So because we control our breathing and breath exercises, we apply gentle squeezes, holds, and intentions, we're toning our heart rate variability. So it's the ability to move from one to the other quickly and healthily. Is that a word? That's not a word.
Now.
So that's your heart rate variability. So it's super cool with just a simple breathing exercise like that you're toning your nervous system and you're toning your cardiovascular system. So it's so super important. And some of the benefits you should notice is you should be able to be stimulated and calm yourself down. You should be able to be calm and apply yourself when needed, right? And some of the things that people do report from meditating, right? I can handle things better. I can be more flexible. I can be more dynamic, right? It's not being one way or the other all the time. It's your ability to dynamically move through those things and give yourself back some power and some choice, right?
Yes, I love that. So
Yeah.
I know the answer to this, but just because we're on this live and you're the anatomy, my anatomy friend and the person that I go to with these questions. So like when we're upset, right? Like life is stressful or, we're angry or whatever it might be, our breath goes faster, right? Like many times it goes faster and sometimes it even feels like you can't even catch your breath, right? It's like right just in the chest. Um, do you have any recommendations for people or what's happening in the body or any insight or thing you want to share about that? Because we talked about this calm state we experience that. So what about this state?
I love that. So that you can get it back more quickly too, right? So your sympathetic nervous system is giving you all your signals anatomically, right? And it's so good for you to be able to do that because if you need those responses, you need high chest breathing. You need to be able to breathe quickly and rapidly, and you need to be able to get the breath to your periphery so that you can run or fight a bear or think quickly, right? Like whatever it is need to be able to calculate, what is it, like 50,000 bits of information, and only like 50 of them pass through your frontal lobe, right? So you need that. You need your endocrine system to pump out the adrenaline. You need your digestion to stop working. You kind of go tachycardic. So that's actually a good thing. You can think of probably many scenarios where we need that. And that's what's happening when you think of stress, or you have an emotion, or your boss calls you in to present in a meeting you're not ready for. So all of these things actually happen in your mind instead of in your environment, and your body has the same reaction as if you were attacked by a bear. And then your anatomical body reacts in the same way. So you get the hormones as if your physical body needs to do something, when technically it's just an emotion or a story or a thought. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing to make note of, is, am I actually in physical danger? And if you're not, then you probably don't need the full sympathetic nervous system response as if you were in physical danger. Maybe you want a little bit of heightened like awareness, right? So that you can be mentally. But one thing you can do is go directly to your breath, because the breath, this is really interesting. I'll give you a picture of this later too in the comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the breathing center for the neurons that basically control respiration are where in your brain? Does anybody know? I'll tell you. They're basically in your oblongata, and one in your pons, two in your medulla oblongata, which is actually your brain stem. So it's back here. I'll send you a picture at the very top of your brain stem. Yeah. So if you go directly to your breath, you're going to affect the rest of your nervous system from here down. Yeah. And so the very thing you can probably do is put your hands on your diaphragm and your high chest breathing. And physically, we're just going to attack this from the outside in, right? Because you can't go from your brain, because your brain's already in fight or flight. So your diaphragm, I'll have to get a little higher, and you're going to make your diaphragm move more to deep breathing, remember? So instead of breathing up here, you're going to take one deep breath and make your diaphragm go down and fill up your lungs at the bottom. And then you're not going to push it, you're going to release, because it's a contraction of the muscle, and when you inhale, it's a release when you exhale. So don't push, you release, exhale. So 3 seconds, one breath. And if you need some more help, 5 breaths, 30 seconds. You can keep going. You push down on the top of your lungs and you squeeze your lungs, you squeeze your diaphragm down, let your lungs fill up at the bottom. And then you exhale, release. Now you're starting to shut off your parasympathetic nervous system, and you must shut off your sympathetic. You must turn on your parasympathetic, because you're stimulating the nerve right here in your diaphragm. And isn't that the first thing that happens when you're having a response like that? This isn't moving at all, right?
Yeah.
So that's just a very quick anatomical fix. Put your hands on your body. Somatically use the movement of your body to switch your neurology and engage the other nervous system, right? Then you can employ lots of other tactics that Alissa teaches, and lots of people have, where you can start using reason or bring in mantra. One really awesome thing you can do if you're alone is hum. If you're at your office work meeting, you don't necessarily want to be when it's time for you to present, but
Yeah.
but children do it, because humming vibrates the vocal cords and vibrates and stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system as well. So if you were alone, you could definitely inhale that technique and exhale, hum, and you will turn that system on and it will start working for you. Everything will come back into alignment, right? Do you like that?
I love those 2 practices, Crystal. And sometimes we do find ourselves in situations where it's like, okay, I can't necessarily do this in this public setting, but like I used to teach my middle school students, you can always go to a restroom and go in the stall and shut the door and do your breathing. There was even one time I had an event and I was just nervous to speak in front of this group of people. So I had some time. I actually just went out to my car and I did do some humming and things to get back into that calm state. And then I was able to go and present in a relaxed manner. And it was much more successful than if I would have been up there like, oh, I'm so nervous, right?
Can hear it, and I feel like they can see it. You can see that, right? You can see that when somebody's shoulders are up here and you're, should I be nervous? They're nervous. Yeah. Great. And what I love is it's about 9 seconds, right? 10 seconds to switch that in your brain so you don't have to excuse yourself for the rest of the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
The first do it, it might take a few more breaths, but once you anatomically feel what's going on and move your body, yeah. There's one other thing neurologically that's really interesting, because that's where your respiratory center is in your brain. Your pituitary gland is actually the master gland of all the other glands, right? So it's like what the pituitary gland says, it sends things to your cardiovascular system, your lymphatic system, your respiratory, your digestion, all of it, right? It's
Yes.
hormones. So if you get a relaxed state there and you're working with the brain in these areas and you get the pituitary gland to participate in rest and restore, that master gland is right in the center. If you go above your ears, right in the center of your brain and down from, the soft spot on a baby's head, you'll hit your pituitary gland, and that will now secrete to every other system in your body. So you're not just working on your respiratory system, every other system will start getting on board, right? And that's a lot of times what happens is you've got too much cortisol, too much adrenaline, too much of all these other things. So from the inside out, even your skeletal system and your fascia will begin getting signals from the master gland that we can heal, restore, relax, return to wholeness. So it's really, really powerful that breathing is our little way in to hijack all of our ANS, or automatic nervous system, things that we can't really get to, right? With conscious
Yeah.
practice. So the breath is kind of like our way in. It's the way we hijack and can affect the other systems. And that's why a lot of times people tell you breathe and you're like, this makes no sense. So I hope a little bit of this knowledge can make it seem not so etheric, and frou-frou. Like, no, the breath is our anatomical hack to these systems.
Yes, I love that so much, Crystal. Thank you for so much that you've shared this morning. Like, just these little hacks can really help us have healthier lives where we feel more fulfilled, or even just like we can handle stuff. And when we feel that way, we feel empowered. So, thank you so much. And also, I want to let everyone know Crystal is releasing in the future, you let us know the details, some anatomy training videos. And this is so important, whether you're a yoga teacher or not, just to understand your body and how it works and how you can have a relationship with your body in these different ways. So is this program you're releasing, is it only for yoga teachers, or could anyone take it and receive benefit?
Yeah, I think the people who are going to really latch onto it is anyone who practices yoga or teaches yoga, because they're really geared towards like this, exactly what we did here. We've got lots of little snippets that I'm actually going to be giving out for free. So put your email in the messages, send me a message with your email right now. I'll link my website. You can put your email and subscribe, and that's how you'll hear about them first. And all these little freebie snippets where we will record things such as anatomy for your hips, or anatomy right on the breathing or the brain, or specific shoulder movements for certain things. And there'll be lots of freebies and lots of cool things. And so I really feel like if you practice yoga, if you found some healing with somatically moving your body, or you're teaching yoga to students, you're teaching people how to heal this way, I just really, really want to support the community with some of this knowledge that just deepens and solidifies the practice. And it makes it so much easier to, one, understand what's going on, but two, explain to all the people in your life who think you're crazy why healing your issues with breathing exercises and yoga, right? Like why your anxiety has been manageable with yoga and things like that. Because that's a big thing, especially teachers trying to have it come across to people. Do this, and that makes no sense, right? So I'm so excited for that. And I also would love to hear in the comments if there's something you want or you really need. Like Alissa asked me, let's talk about the anatomy of breathing. If there's something like that, I just want to be of support and of service and just share this knowledge so we can all just be better humans.
Yes, and we will do another live on any other topic that you would like as far as anatomy and
Cool.
yoga. Like,
Oh,
I'm
well,
down.
thank you for having me and thank you for loving it and just supporting me. And I see your eyes light up. And I know you say anatomy, but I see your brain and I see the questions and Alissa knows so much. Alissa knows so much. So I really appreciate that.
Oh my goodness. Breathe today, right? That's what we can leave everyone with. Slow down your breathing, come back to your center, and like take this tidbit, like this logical information, this real truth that Crystal has delivered, and apply it. And we just want you to be healthy and happy. So thank you,
Yeah,
Crystal. Love you, girl.
you.
Satnam. Oh.